Hey everyone, welcome back to a fireside chat. I'm gonna dive right into talking about The Dangerous Gift, the latest Wings of Fire book in the arc, and I'm going to completely just jump in. By the time you're at the fourth book in an arc, you can't have any kind of like spoiler-free whatever. So no, we're not doing that. I'm gonna jump right in, even starting with the cover. So if you don't want spoilers for the book yet, you haven't read it, you're warned. If you don't mind spoilers, then stick around and I'm just gonna analyze it, talk about it, theorize. This might be a long video because I've got a lot to say. It's honestly, this might be my favorite book in this arc for sure. Maybe my favorite Wings of Fire book ever, actually. So let's get started. I'm gonna start with the cover because, oh my goodness, it's just gorgeous. Most Wings of Fire books, in my opinion, are beautiful, but this one just takes the cake. I mean, Joy Yang just went all out with the sunset, with the shining through her wings. Snowfall's gorgeous, and we got a little bonus. Links on the back. I've wanted to know how she looks in canon forever, so I was so happy to see that. Another reason I'm glad now I buy hardbacks, because I get to have links on my book. It's so beautiful. I love her little freckles and the spots on her wings. It's actually how I always imagined her, so it was just really cool to see that confirmed in canon. It's beautiful. The other thing I thought was really cool is, Ice Wings can all look very similar, and yeah, Lynx has got some, cool patterns and whatnot, but I even like, if you look at the cover a lot, you can actually see there's even subtle differences in, like, the horn structure on Snowfall versus Lynx. It's really, really cool. I really like that. And her talons, like their little serrated claw at the edge of their wing. Snowfall's is more hooked and Lynx is more straight. I think that's interesting. I just think it's super cool. I love the color palette. Just all around gorgeous. And then, for those of you, I got this as a birthday gift, so I wanted to get the Barnes & Noble copy, and there was a wonderful little poster inside, and I just said in a recent video I wanted a picture of Jerboa. Well, lo and behold, my wish was granted. There's a picture of baby Jerboa, which is also super cool, because I don't think we've ever seen a baby dragon in Wings of Fire ever yet, that I know of. I think it's just, like, I don't think we've ever had a baby dragon, so it's really cool to see how that's portrayed. And Jerboa the First with her little Jerboa baby, or Boa, as you know, she goes by the nickname. That was a weird turn of events, but we'll get to that later. Yeah, so that's my gushing on the cover because it's just so beautiful. I have to say, I really like this. I wouldn't normally go into that much detail, but honestly, the art on the front of this book alone is like, it's just spectacular. It's really good. It just takes the cake for me. Anyway, let's get started talking about the story. It's just so good for so many reasons. Snowfall, honestly, I was probably going to be one of the hardest people to please on this book, because as soon as I saw, or someone told me, I think, that Snowfall was going to be the protagonist, I was like, what? That makes no sense. And then I was like, ugh, not Snowfall. She's a jerk. And, I don't know. I didn't see a lot of people talking about it too much, but the people I know I talked with about it were like, yeah, Snowfall, blah. But I honestly can say I was very wrong. Snowfall might actually be my favorite protagonist, and I think she might actually have the most growth going for her in a book, to be quite honest. I do. I was totally wrong. She was great, and this book is awesome. I have a few things I would say that are like nitpicky things, but this book is amazing. For starters, I actually have the book here in front of me. I'm just gonna work through it. Let's start with the prologue first, before we even get to Snowfall. That was just me, saying like, yeah, I was gonna be hard to please. But I got the book, and I was totally wrong. But anyway, prologue. Super cool. It was Swordtail's POV, and I'm so glad, because Swordtail is one of those characters that I actually kind of want Swordtail to die, just because he's kind of, like, he's one of those characters that just, like, jumps off a cliff without, thinking too much, and it's just like, woohoo! And I'm just like, oh, this boy, how are you still alive? But I really liked seeing his thoughts, and I liked hearing about how, like, the mind control works when it takes over you, and it was horrifying. And I did throw out my theory of that, like, maybe Blue and Swordtail were able to get into hiding or something as everyone else was controlled. Oh well. But, yeah, it was super, super cool and really creepy. I liked it a lot. It was a really good prologue. And it helps, you know, like, yeah, they're still alive. They're aware of what's going on. They just can't do anything about it. It's good to see. Because one problem I was worried about with this book is that as we move to Pyria now, because that's where the dragons are heading, you know, as of the Poison Jungle, I was really worried it would, like, go off on a tangent with Snowfall, because Tui's really good at writing character stories. Like, that's hands down. She's great at that. But one thing I was worried about is, like, would the plot become disrupted because of that? And that's what I was kind of worried, because a lot of book 4, like, books for me are hard. I don't like the 4th book in the series usually. Like, I love Starflight a lot, but his book is just so hard to get through sometimes. It gets a little boring, and sometimes I feel like it's its own thing, and I'm just like, can we get back to the plot? Like, there are plot beats for sure, but it's not major. It's kind of hard to get through. And then Turtle's book took me forever. I'm not a fan of Turtle. I'm sorry, guys. I know everyone likes Turtle, but I did not like the book a lot. It felt a lot of just useless. Ugh. I wish there could have been another protagonist maybe for that book or something. I don't know. I did not care for it. Like, the ending was great, or like the fight scene was awesome, but yeah. Ugh. But yeah, this book did not do that. I liked that it still kept you from the prologue on involved in the story on Pantala. Like, it felt like it was, you know, keeping with that. Like, Tui was keeping with that theme, and she does that throughout the book too, which I really thought that was some genius writing on her part. It was really good, because that's what I was worried about, and she totally nailed it 100%. So it was like a character arc, but you also know exactly what's going on in Pantala. Plus, you get to see some other character POVs, which is awesome. So I really liked that. But this book is just kind of, like, getting into, you know, the first chapter here. You know, Snowfall is now Queen of the Ice Wings. I think this book did a lot of things that I didn't actually know I needed. I don't know if that makes sense or not. I didn't realize how much I actually needed in this universe a Queen POV. Like, I've wanted some Queen POVs, don't get me wrong. But I wanted it from other tribes. I didn't realize I needed one from the Ice Wings so badly. Like, this was almost just, yes. This is just so much good world building in that first part of the book. The first part of the book is my favorite. Even though the ending's really good, I liked the world building that goes on in here. Even though Snowfall's still kind of a jerk at that point, I still liked that part the best, because it's just so interesting to see how a queen is treated. You know, like, she has all this power, but she's kind of, you know, dictated by other things around her, and, you know, she has to rearrange the wall, and she doesn't see that as a, you know, you know, any kind of privilege at all. Like, she thought she'd like it, and then she's like, oh, I hate this. Yeah, it's just really interesting. And two, the other thing as well, I didn't actually realize I needed some more explanation, but now I'm really glad we have it, is on what Kibble, Turtle, and Anemone, I think it was Anemone who cast the spell, actually, but I guess Kibble wrote it. But on the spell to make the Ice Wings and the Night Wings' minds link up, so they would become more, like, empathetic with each other or whatever. I love seeing how that actually backfired. Like, I was so like, yes, this is so awesome. Like, yes, it might have worked for all the Ice Wings, like, you know, for all the other ones who aren't leading, but for Snowfall, it ended up making her paranoid. Which is so cool. Like, she already had some paranoia from the plague itself, losing her mom, you know, her sister's on the run, like, where is she? You know, like, all of that. But then it gave her this paranoia about her tribe as a whole, and then it made her, to double dose that, insecure. And I love that, because it's like, it makes you wonder, like, had that not happened, sure, they probably would have all died, but then maybe she wouldn't have been so insecure about her leadership, which is kind of a lot of her problems, you know? Like, Snowfall immediately out of the gate starts out as, if you're not in her head, very unlikable. But if you're in her head, you actually just feel bad for her. You're like, aw, like, don't worry, honey, you're doing really good. Like, you can tell she reacts with fear, but she's still doing what she thinks is best, and she's trying her hardest. And, like, you gotta root for her right off the bat, even if you're like, calm down. You're still, you know, you're still there with her, and I really love that. I was kind of hoping Lynx would be the POV, and now I'm like, no, I'm really glad that she is not, because if Lynx had been the POV, this book might have not been as well, it wouldn't have been near as good. Snowfall was perfect for this. And I like it. I love her thoughts, and the other cool little detail getting in here. I actually want to just read this one because it's just, well, or maybe I won't read it, so everyone else can enjoy it. But, you know, if you go to page, I think it's 17 here, when Tundra hands her the crown. I love that about Tui, is that she pulls in all these details that she alludes to later and will use, and that's just genius writing. Like, Tundra hands her the crown, and, you know, Snowfall's like, ugh, I hate that crown. It makes my head hurt, which I was like, you know, it's kind of like, what, more than any other crown? But that's just such a nice little detail, because as you know, later on, we find out this crown was animus touched by Diamond to make the wearer, I guess, hate Nightwings or something. Something like that. It's hard to tell how specific it is, or something like that. But as soon as she puts on the crown, you know, she's like, ow, my neck and head hurt. But then her immediate thought right after that is, you know, Darkstalker, Nightwings. And then in bold print, it's like, the Nightwings can't be trusted. And that's just such a neat detail. It makes me think a little bit back to Peril's book, Escaping Peril, when she had on, like, animus-touched necklace. And, like, her thoughts were just slightly skewed. Like, I went back and actually read this chapter because as soon as I read that part, when Mink had the crown on, she figured it out. I was like, what? And I went back and I was like, what? That is so cool. Tui, you're a genius writer. That's just such great foreshadowing. I love it. It was so cool. It's such a neat thing. I loved it. And then, like, of course, you know, you get into the wall. I'm not going to go through this with everything. But, you know, like, Lynx herself is such a nice character to introduce with Snowfall, because Lynx is just a very peppy, kind, very smart character, and she's very supportive, and I really appreciate her friendship, and just with Snowfall, it's just so good. It's just like, yes, I love friendships in this series. Like, sometimes I don't feel like there's enough good just friendships, and this is just an awesome friendship, and I love it so much. And I love how, you know, Lynx is just like, just calm down, Snowfall. Like, she's like the only one bold enough. She's brave too, I guess. Bold enough to, you know, walk up to Snowfall and be like, calm down. Snowfall's like, it's cool too to see that, like, Snowfall and Lynx know each other really well when you think about it. You know, they were in, like, the first circle for years together. And it's just interesting to see that Lynx still knows her really well. And, you know, like, bonus fact, Snowfall apparently likes water and swimming, which is funny. I think that was cute. Cute little detail. And Lynx knows that, and, you know, tries to get her to relax, and it's a good thing to have. Well, every single time, though, the other great thing about Lynx is not only is she telling her to relax, but every single time someone questions Snowfall, she's like, she is the best queen ever, to, like, help boost her, because she knows she's insecure even if she acts cocky. And I like that. It's a good secondary supporting character. It's just perfect. Perfect for Snowfall. And just Mink. I think Mink might actually be my favorite. Like, there's just so many good characters introduced in this book, honestly. I could just gush about them all. Like, Lynx we didn't know well before, so she's kind of like a new character, even though we knew her. But, Mink is adorable. I think she might be my favorite dragonette at this point, and now I'm like, oh, there's little Mink, she's so cute. And I like it too because, one thing I've always thought about, like, all the dragonettes at this point in the series, to me, have very similar personalities. And I say that, like, I love them all, don't get me wrong, but they all feel the same. They're all well written, but they all feel the same. Like, I feel like if you put Bumblebee's name in front of Auklet, or, you know, Auklet's name in front of Cliff, I feel like you'd almost get the same dialogue, just because they're written the same. I feel like Mink's different. For once, I really felt like Mink was her own character that wasn't just a carbon copy of cuteness. And I really appreciated that. Like, Mink is sweet and she's kind and stuff, but then the cool part to her dialogue is she's actually got this little stutter to her voice, and it's just such a cute little detail, because it's not, like, sometimes stutters can be, like, hard to read because they're annoying to be like, oh, I gotta read through this stuttering character, and it's like, please stop doing that. Like, writing a stutter well is really hard. And this time, like, with Mink, it's not poorly done at all. It's really good. It's only on a few words, and it's just enough to get from the character that she's nervous and insecure herself a little bit. And I like that. But yeah, Mink is still that peppy personality. I really like Mink a lot. She's adorable. And I also like to see that Snowfall actually has a positive relationship with Mink as well. I love seeing good sibling dynamics. Finally, I just want some good... Like, I feel like we haven't had this since the Dragonettes of Destiny, and they weren't even real siblings. So they still had some romantic drama. This is perfect. Mink and Snowfall being good siblings, where, yes, Snowfall might be a little standoffish at times, is still a good sibling. Like, okay, I gotta go show her the treasury kind of thing. And okay, you can come sleep in my room, sure, whatever. Like, she acts like it, but yet she needs Mink as well. And, you know, and Mink, too, needs someone else to help her. Like, Mink is a good character. I could see Mink having some POV. She'd probably be kind of like a... At least in my head at this point, I kind of think of her as a little bit like Moon, but, like, a little bit less, like, bullied, maybe, at this point. Like, just, like, a little shy. And I like that. She feels like her own dragonette. But, yeah. The other thing I really loved, and like, I could probably gush about this first part, is like the Forbidden Treasury. That was just such a cool little detail, because I never, like, I thought about it before a lot. I was always like, come on, there were only that many animi in the, like, or animuses, or animi, or whatever it's called, the plural for animuses. Like, the Ice Wings were noted to have a lot of them. You know, like, I take it they had a bunch. And I was always like, they just made, like, pretty crazy aesthetic stuff. But I was so glad to see some more build up on that. You know, like, you have the tiara, or like, of strength or whatever, the gift of strength, but like the tiara that does that, and, you know, and then that ring is the gift of vision, which just plays such a huge role. That was such an amazing touch. I love it. And the other thing I love about all this is, if you look on the cover again, like, the tiara strength's on her head, you got the ring of vision on her finger, and the bracelets of stealth or whatever on her arm. Like, it's nice to see that they, like, that was all done in the art too, so you can see exactly what they look like. I loved that. Because sometimes, sometimes descriptions, I just like to see how things look. So I was really glad all those details were in place. I love that. And the Forbidden Treasury, it was just such a neat thing. It just felt so cool. It's just, I loved it. You know, and then, I guess getting into, you know, when Lynx and Snowfall meet the Pentalon Dragons, I would say my one thing with it is that I don't feel like any of the characters react like with enough what in the world, huh? Like, that they should. I feel like Snowfall, Lynx, and everyone else who meets the Pentalon Dragons are kind of just like, this is my one complaint. They're all just like, huh, you got 4 wings? Weird. Oh, cool, you're green like a rain wing or a sea wing. Huh, cool. Get out of my land. Like, they're not that... Like, they're not, like, super phased by it. And, like, I would say that's my one complaint. I just expected, like... I don't know, like, I wanted some dragon to, like, basically, like, either freak out excited about this discovery or something, or have a meltdown. Like, I don't know. Like... Yeah, I don't know. That's what I expected to happen. Just a little bit more like, oh my goodness, it's real? And there's danger there? Like, I feel like most dragons, and maybe this is a bit fitting too, because all these dragons are sick of prophecies or whatever, but I do feel like it was a little bit more, like, rushed. Some of the reactions. I don't feel like the dragons themselves reacted all that crazy to it. But, you know, that's a nitpicky thing, because it was still good. In some cases, it was still hilarious. And, you know, I still liked it. It's just a little bit like, oh, they took that pretty well, considering they found out 3 new tribes exist, and there's, like, evil in their land, and there is a lost continent with, you know, stuff going on. Like, they took that pretty well, pretty quickly, in my opinion. You know, like, that's all. That's the only thing. I loved Cricket's reaction, though, to the that's what I wanted from the Purian dragons to the Pantalan dragons. But Cricket, I love Cricket so much. She was just like, oh my goodness, you look like an icicle, and you've got, like, magic. She finds out, like, she gets all excited, and it's like, I kind of wanted just one character to be either excited or completely like, are you kidding me? Or like, what? Like, you know, but Cricket did it for me at least, so good job, Cricket. You're pulling the team together, but I kind of knew she would do that, so. But yeah. So then, you know, we get into, you know, like, the actual book, and then that's when the gift of vision kicks in, because, you know, like, Snowfall is being, you know, and irritating. But then you get that, you know, chapter where she is basically living as Atala, I believe is her name. Yeah, Atala. I think that's how you pronounce that. But she's a Silkwing, who's in love with a Leafwing, which is going to make a funky little hybrid. I like Leaf Silk hybrids a lot. I think they're interesting. Pretty dragons. But, yeah, freaks Snowfall out, of course. And Lynx catches on really quickly. It's super cool. And it freaks Snowfall out a lot. It's kind of funny seeing her, like, is it a real dragon? Is she there? And, you know, but she's gaining that first sense of compassion, you know, for other dragons and feeling bad for them. And, like, you know, it's easy, though, with Atala. That was, like, a first test little run of, like, oh, like, at least she's safe. But then she ends up in Tao's mind. And I loved reading Tao's thoughts, especially, because Tao has actually been one of my favorite minor characters at this point. Not because she's in love with a Hive-Wing or anything like that. I think her wing disability is super interesting. I like seeing things like that, like they stick in your mind, and I think Tao... I always wondered how Tao felt about that, and I liked seeing that she feels vulnerable about it. It was super interesting to see her thoughts, and I like seeing Jewel and Scarab, and Cinnabar's cool too, but I like Tao's thoughts. And Snowfall's reaction to that as well, I thought was super cool. I like that she's gaining that, you know, that empathy for them. And I also like how Hazel, you know, is portrayed. I liked Hazel more and more through this book than I did in the Poison Jungle. I kind of didn't care for Hazel all that much. Like, she was cute and all. But I started to really like her and honestly gain an appreciation for her because she's just so strong. Like, you go, Hazel. I like her now. I like her more than I used to, you know. Like, Snowfall's being kind of a jerk to her, and she's still, you know, trying to be nice and make an effort and gain, you know, wisdom from others. Like, I have some more respect for her as a character. I like that. I think characters is the name of the game in this story, and it's all of them are done very, very well, in my opinion. I really appreciate all of them. Then, let me think. So then they get to Sanctuary, and we see Winter, and Winter seems kind of chill. No pun intended, but you know, he doesn't seem quite as grumpy as he used to be, so I kind of appreciate that as well, because I kind of thought in the Jade Mountain arc, or whatever it was called, the second arc, that Winter kind of fluctuated around in his personality a little bit. Like, his book was good, I really liked his book, but then he kind of went back to being a grump, and then at the end he was kind of depressed, and I'm just like, come on, Winter, you're better than that. And, you know, so I was really glad I actually enjoyed Winter more like I did in Winter's book, this arc, in this book a lot, and I really liked that. And we get some interesting instances of some hybrid babies to come, for sure. Like Crystal is Snowfall's sister, is in love with a Mudwing, so that's gonna be funny. It's actually a hybrid I've made a couple times. Like I've made Adopt or something like that of them before, Mud Ice hybrids, but I've never actually thought it'd be canon in the book series, because I just figured an Icewing and Mudwing would never fall in love, but I was wrong. I was very wrong. At least in canon universe, I never thought that. But I was very wrong, so I'm excited for that, at least, that there's, you know, that could happen. And Gariel is funny, because Gariel is my favorite Mudwing name, and I named my OC Gariel. She's a girl, though, but it's funny to see that now it's also canon name, and everyone's probably going to be like, oh, you stole it from the books, because that happens to people who make their OCs before these names come out sometimes. That's funny. But yeah, I like Gariel a lot. I think he's sweet. And there's also mention in Sanctuary itself, like, oh, Sanctuary itself, I should talk about that a little bit. So Sanctuary is so neat. I love it. It's like a tiny, more close-knit version of Possibility. Because Possibility, I believe, is mentioned. I don't have the book in front of me, but I believe it was mentioned to have hybrids, but not nearly as many. Like, Possibility is more of a, you know, like, we all live together, but the Sea Wings live in their home and have their kids, and the Sky Wings and Sand Wings usually dominate the town itself, but they have their kids, and, you know, where Sanctuary is, like, just a colorful, awesome little hot mess. It's cute. Like, there's a Mud Sea Wing hybrid that is canon. It's running around there. So that was so cute. A hybrid I really enjoy. There were at least, I believe, 2 Sand Sky hybrids now that are confirmed. They aren't named, obviously. And a Sky Nightwing, I believe. And I don't know where the Nightwing DNA is coming from for that guy, or if that was just a mistake on Snowfall's part, but, like, misinterpreting maybe the black scales came from somewhere else, but, because I believe it's noted that there aren't any Nightwings in that town except for Moon, but who knows, maybe there are, and I, like, in Snowfall just didn't see them. But yeah, I thought that was a really cute touch, because I think hybrids are really popular in the fandom, so it's always cool to get some more hybrids in the mix, and see what Tui does with them, because I think she's good about making varied tribe designs. You know, like Anemone isn't like your normal Sea Wing. I like that, and I'm always interested to see what she does with hybrids, because I think she always does something that's super unique and interesting. And people make super cool hybrids. I just like seeing that. Oh, and then, I think it's Bryony is, I believe, how you pronounce the leaf wing that Snowfall gets a vision of being as well. And also she got, like, the prologue of the Poison Jungle. I like Bryony right away. I like her more than any of the Leaf Wings in the Poison Wing army for the most part, except for maybe Cobra Lily. But yeah, Bryony's cool. And she is also in love with a Silkwing, which is funny. And I'm not a big fan of romance and stories, so I'm really glad romance was not a thing in this book for Snowfall. I'm really glad she stays single and she doesn't have any... Like, I think Lynx picks on her about having a crush, like, at the very end, but, like, it's not anything serious. And Snowfall does not think about it at all. But one thing Snowfall has to understand is the empathy aspect. Like, this whole book is her arc of gaining empathy for others and learning to be less paranoid and less suspicious and less, you know, less insecure. So, like, she's learning all of it at once, like 3 things. But in gaining empathy, you know, she doesn't understand her sister Crystal. And one thing that's awesome is, you know, the little ring of vision kicks in, and it's like, you know, here you go. Like, here's a couple visions about some dragons in love, and it's cute because it feels like it fits in this part of the story while still giving you information about what's going on Pentala. You know, like Grayling's a cute little Silkwing. I should draw him sometime. I think he's got an interesting color palette, because I would think gray wouldn't be like a Silkwing color since they're not black, but you know, I guess they're just not solid black, but it's super cool. And then, of course, she gets one as well of Blue himself, you know, and how he feels for Cricket. So it's a nice, you know, double back-to-back, so Snowfall can understand that feeling, even if, you know, she doesn't have that herself. And then, you know, the other cool one I really liked was when, like, Snowfall gets shoved kind of into, I'm not sure how it happens, she gets shoved into, like, a couple different dragons' heads all in one sleep setting. So, you know, she gets shoved into, like, Blue's head and then Wasp. And that was so neat because it, like, right away you understand, like, I've wanted to hear Wasp get a book, like a chapter in either a prologue and epilogue since, like, book 1. I've been wanting her to, because up to this point, when we have a book series about, like, from Wings of Fire, and there's a villain, we always get at least a prologue or epilogue from the villain's perspective in the book, regardless if we get a Legends book like Darkstalker got. Like, Darkstalker gets a chapter, I believe it's an epilogue, it might be a prologue, but I think it's an epilogue in one of the books, and you get to see his thoughts a little bit. Marrowseer gets a ton of epilogues. Blister, Blaze, and Burn, they get epilogues. Wasp has never gotten any time to hear her thoughts. Now, I've had speculation as to why that is. I thought, well, maybe she's totally mind controlled by the other mind, so it would have given it away. I don't think that's the case at this point, at least not up until now. But I was really glad to see Wasp's thoughts because they are very similar to Snowfall's, and it freaks Snowfall out, as it should. But I really think this was needed for a long time, so I'm really glad it was finally included in the story. It was wonderful to see that, especially, it was perfect to see it now. If it, like, I would have rathered it sooner, but I think it ended up being fine where it is because it's used to directly compare Wasp and Snowfall, and it freaks Snowfall out, and it's good that it does. It's really good. You know, like, it's really, really cool to see that, because it's like, you know, like, if you read it, it's like, I'm not like her, am I? I would never make choices she's made, would I? You know, because you understand, like, you've been hearing Snowfall's faults, and you're like, wow, that's eerily similar to what we've been reading, isn't it? And, you know, that was really, really good detail. I loved that. Then, at this point, I'm just going through what I remember here. But at some point in the story, you know, like, you have all the queens that are sitting down, except for Coral. She didn't show up till, like, much later. I don't even think she gets on screen, at all, but, or in book. But, you get all the queens sit down and talk about things, and I was so, so glad, because the, like, we all know Glory, like, okay, like, let me just start from the beginning on my thoughts. So, like, Glory was the only queen POV we've had, but she was made queen at the end of her book, so, like, there was nothing in there that we really got to see about her being queen. Snowfall's been queen a long time, and she is actually the queen of a legit tribe that's not trying to get back to what it used to be at all. Like, the Icewind tribe is very rooted in tradition. It is very well established in its royalty. That's just how it is. It's very well set up. So it was really cool to see how all the queens interact together and Snowfall's part in all of that. Because even though she's young, she knows how this works, and it was neat to see that. I was also glad to see the Mudwind Queen, Moorhen, get like more than 2 lines of dialogue or whatever she got at the end of the first arc of books for like 5 minutes while she was in a dream. Finally, like, the Mudwind Queen's getting some attention, the Mudwings in general. Even if it's this tiny little scrap of dialogue, I was so excited for it. And that gets into probably my second issue with the book as a whole, that the later end of the book itself is really short. I could have used more chapters on this. And yeah, like, that might have drawn it out more, but like, I was loving this part too. Like, seeing all the queens interact with each other, learning about the politics between them, because we get to see, like, anytime we see the queens, really, we're either one of their in one of their kids' heads, or we're some other dragon that's not even royalty in their heads. So being a part of, like, you know, what the queens think about each other and what they do and what they're known for, it was just super great. It was great world building. I loved it so much. You know, like, Moorhen is, you know, kind of like gruff, and then you have Glory, who's pretty practical. You know, Ruby's practical, but she's also very caring. And Glory's also really smart too. Thorn's caring and smart. I loved, because I love Thorn so much. I loved Thorn's little scene with Snowfall and, you know, pulling her away and being like, just calm down, you got this, Snowfall, you're good to go. And just helping her relax. It was such a touching scene, you know, where Thorn is kind of mothering Snowfall a little bit. And, you know, not in an accusing way either, like, just helping her. And I loved that, because Thorn's awesome. Thorn's one of the best ever. I love her. And, you know, oh, and then there was also that, she also got a vision of Cinnabar as well. And Io in there as well. Because Pentella's got some awesome stuff going on just through the visions. So it's awesome. It'll be interesting to see what happens, you know, with all of that. And who ends up mind controlled and who doesn't. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But anyway, so then we get to a really cool, like, one of the funniest things ever in this book. I giggled because I've been waiting for Sky to return. So I was really happy to see him get a book. And this does get into another problem I have with this book as a whole. I feel like the whole part with Sky was wonderful, but I felt like it was rushed. I felt like there wasn't enough crazy emphasis of scavengers. Oh my goodness, they actually have minds of their own kind of thing. I didn't feel like that was as, like, the dragons were like, cool, okay, we'll stop eating them. Yikes, I can't believe we did that. Oh well. Like, it wasn't, I didn't feel like it left as much of an impact as it should have in that moment. In fact, I could easily almost forget it was in the book itself. Except I thought it was cool. And, like, I don't know. I just didn't feel like this part of the story lasted long enough. And I didn't feel like it left as much of an impact as it should have. I also think, like, I really loved her vision as Raven. And I think Raven's going to end up being such a really cool character if she plays more of a part, which I think she will. Like, not as a main character, but I hope not. I hope the next book's on the dragon. But, you know, I hope that Raven does at least play, like, a supporting or, like, a secondary character. But with Sky and them, I do feel like you have to read Dragon Slayer to really fully appreciate the humor and everything that's going on in this part of the book. Because if you don't, it just doesn't... I don't think it would leave the same impact. Like, I have read Dragon Slayer, so that's fine. But... I just, like, with Darkstalker, you can, like, it definitely is better to read Darkstalker's book. However, I feel like you could like, not read Darkstalker's book and still understand the story well and still have a good, like, because they tell you enough. I don't feel like this told you enough about Sky, which I think if it had been longer, maybe it could have done that. So that's, like, maybe, like, my third nitpick about the book as a whole is some parts of the book as a whole, I guess, could be, like, number 2. I feel like they're a little rushed. Like, hurry through this. It's not, like, you know, it's like, what? That's important to me. Or, whoa, that didn't leave much impact. And it's like, you know, like, it was a little rushed. Through some aspects of the book. And I just wanted to know more about that, or I wanted to see more characters react to that, or that kind of thing. So, like, that's my only thing. And also, too, like, maybe a little more time to have some information would have removed it a bit from Dragon Slayer so you could still have fun and understand the jokes. It's really great if you've read Dragon Slayer. It's wonderful, but I think it needed maybe a little bit. Just, like, 3 more chapters or 4 more chapters, maybe. But yeah, I really liked that with Raven, and, you know, how, you know, Snowfall gets that vision, because that was really cool. I didn't think that the ring would do that, because I guess that implies Opal must understand somehow scavengers, which is actually kind of neat. It actually, you know, when you think about it too, I'm actually just thinking about this now, like, it'd be kind of cool if we got a winglet on Opal herself, maybe. That would actually be super cool. Something I should talk about later. If I had made that one video on dragons I want books about, now I probably would have put Opal under the winglets section for Ice Wings, but, you know, hey. But yeah, and, you know, Daffodil comes back. Yay, I love Daffodil. She's funny. I like Violet a lot too, but Daffodil's cool. Now she's gonna hang out with Winter and teach him English, which is, or like, teach him human, or she's gonna help learn her dragon more, which is, it's gonna be funny to see. It's gonna be funny to see that happening. And then, you know, you have, it continues on, and then we have, you know, like, then, like, as you get into part 3, I feel like it gets even more rushed, because all of that happens with Sky and Ren, and then it just stops. Like, you don't get to see the meeting where the other dragons, like the other queens, figure out scavengers exist at all. You don't see them picking dragons to go on the journey and developing them at all. And that's just, yeah, the book at some points, like, the first part feels like it was the perfect length to me. The later parts, the only reason I don't like them as much is because they feel a little rushed, or a lot rushed in the case of the last part. To me, that's, like, my big thing. They just feel really rushed. That I really like it. Overall, just a little rushed. She explains the main details, but I just thought it would be neat to, like, she explains her, you know, talking with Sundew, but that's about it. You know, she doesn't really explain any details on, you know, like, who is Pineapple and Bullfrog. I want to know a bit more about them, you know, like, and why they were chosen. Like, some of the choices are obvious, and I was already kind of expecting some of that to happen. Like, I figured that Moon and Kiblu would probably end up getting to Pentala at some point anyway in this arc, or maybe even another arc if there's another one after this, which I hope so. Because I don't see how this is all going to wrap up in one book with a nice little bow. I feel like either this book is destined to end in such a way that, like, they lose, or things are mostly wrapped up, or something like that, because if it's all wrapped up so easily, I don't feel like it'll be that, like, as good of an arc as I think it is right now. That's my opinion. But yeah. But then Snowfall gets, like, I guess her second to last vision. I think it is. It's up there. I think it's her second one, but she gets in Jerboa's mind. You know, she specifically asked for it, because then the whole question, too, that's been on the side is, what happened to Anna's magic? And I have my theories. You know, like, I wondered if Lynx was, like, an animus who had, like, hidden it away or something, maybe, to, like, help Snowfall calm down. Like, I had some theories, but, you know, none of those were true. I actually ended up liking the way it was done much better, because it was also a genius for Tui's writing again. Because as of the second arc of Wings of Fire, the extent that we've learned about Animus Magic, what it can do and what it actually does to you, has opened up Animus Magic to be the ultimate snap of your fingers tool to fix everything. So when this arc presented that Animus Magic was broken, that was great, but I was really worried it would be something silly. Like, oh, now we fixed it, now we can go defeat the other mind, and not at all. So we get in Jerboa's head, Jerboa the First, and Jerboa the First was like, it's like reading about Arctic a little bit. It reminded me of Arctic in his story. If you mix that with like Albatross, it was good because she's like genuinely she's a good dragon. Like she just wants a kid and she wants to be happy, you know. But then she ends up killing Queen Scorpion. Like oof. Like I didn't realize that. She's just like kills her, and then you know she gets a kid. You know, like she makes one through Animus Magic, which is such a neat touch. As well, because, you know, why not? Why couldn't you just turn any egg you want into a dragon egg? It's also interesting to see that Jerboa, the one we thought is Jerboa the Second all this time, actually isn't Jerboa the Second. She's actually the third Jerboa. Because Jerboa messed up apparently one time and had a kid, and I take it she killed the kid, but who knows? Maybe that was left open for plot reasons. Who knows? You know, but you have Jerboa, and then you get, you know, you keep going, and it's like horrible the things Jerboa slowly keeps doing to little Boa, and you know it keeps getting worse and worse, and you know, and even she asked, you know, Jerboa asked Boa if she wants a little brother, and of course I wonder too if that was left open for plot reasons. Maybe we'll see she did actually make one. Who knows? Now I feel like Jerboa the Third apparently will probably end up dying at the end of this arc, but it's hard to tell. Who knows? But it was such a neat, like, it gets a little dark, I guess I would say. Like, the book itself is very light and just a good story about character development, but, you know, it's, like, this part at the end gets a little darker. Like, you know, she freezes her mom in ice and, you know, makes herself an animus, which is, you know, you feel good for Jerboa to have some of those things, but she gets a curse on her at the last minute, which is sad. Poor Jerboa loses like a body part every time she uses magic, which makes sense now why she's hesitant to use magic in general. And she didn't actually use magic in the throne room with Darkstalker. She just had a little shell that did that for her. Like, she used magic, but it wasn't her magic, which I just assumed she did, but that was a cool touch as well. She returns her mom, who's buried under her hut in a block of ice, apparently. Which is just, you know, convenient, but yeah. It just makes me think, like, respawn point. It's just funny. It's like, she set her respawn point at her hut, apparently, by burying her mom in a block of ice under her hut. Just funny. But yeah. And then, you know, Jerboa's, like, gets... like, Jerboa has to deal with, you know, Darkstalker, and she gets scared by all that, because, I mean, that's very reasonable, so she kind of waits till Darkstalker's gone, and then she finds Luna, and she takes a candle holder thing, and, I should word the spell just because I think it's really well done how Tui did this, because she solved a problem for the plot, so it's not going to be easy to solve the problem with the other mind, but she also left herself open, because I'll read this. So, chant the candle holder, so when I shatter it, I shatter the power of all current Animus Dragons from now on. No new spells cast by an Animus Dragon alive today will ever work again. Also, from this point forward, I will grow old and die, yeah, be a normal dragon. So, anyway. Oh, yeah, and it's irreversible Animus, including herself. So, basically, Tui has put herself in the place now where an enemy, Turtle, Jerboa the Third, and Stonemover's the other one, can no longer cast an Animus enchanted spell. Now, all of their enchanted little tools will work, which is really nice, because I would have been sad if that stopped working. But this spell is also open-ended, so theoretically, Turtle and an enemy aren't actually not animi anymore. like, by the wording of the spell, they can't cast any spells. Well, no new spells cast by an animus dragon alive today will work. So theoretically, Turtle and Anemone still have, quote-unquote, sort of the magic in them. It's just it doesn't work for them anymore. So Turtle's kids could still theoretically be born in animus, possibly. Or a dragon that was born from an animus but didn't actually have it still has their power. She didn't shatter animus power, she just shattered the ability for it to work, essentially. And it still says alive today, so theoretically 100 years or in another generation or something like that. Like, none of the dragons alive right now, obviously, can have animus magic, so, like, Auklet couldn't, or Mink couldn't, or any of the Nightwings couldn't, but in the future, there could be an animus, which is nice. So, like, if Tui wants to put that back in the plot again, it's available. So that was just genius. So it's like, now solving the problem is going to be harder, which it should be. That's going to be fun to see. But it's also not, gone forever, which I appreciate. Also, too, as a little cool side note here, I actually want to read it specifically because we also know now that there are some other animus dragons that happened in history, which is so cool because, between Darkstalker's time and the present, which is like 2,000 year gap, we don't know anything about dragons. Just like there's like a 5,000 year gap between the Scorching and, the present. So it's like 3,000 years between Darkstalker and the Scorching. So it's like there's these big time gaps we know nothing about. But what's neat is, it's somewhere in here. But basically, I'll just say it. Like, basically, Jerboa says she kept a track of all the animus dragons that were born during her time. And it's noted that Whiteout had, a couple descendants that were animus dragons before Stonemover. So that's something that's neat to hear. And there was also a Seawing before Orca that was born with animus. So I'm kind of hoping, like, it'd be kind of neat to have like a middle story, like between Darkstalker and the present with some of those, because it's noted especially like the Seawing one died pretty young. So like, it's just cool because it leaves it's interesting to see like some of that history playing out, even if it's subtle stuff. I ate that up. And, Snowfall's like, oh, crud, animus magic is broken, but she gets that. She finds Mink with the crown on, which is something I said at the beginning, and she discovers the crown makes you hate Nightwings, which is neat. She crushes that. She crushes the wall, which I was so happy to see. I was a little sad because Icewings have a unique culture I was sad to see go, but it was so, so cool to see her crush the wall because now I do like Icewing culture better. Like it was cool that Icewings had their own unique thing, but I'm still glad because now I'm like, whew, Icewings don't have to deal with that, at all. And then just like wrapping it up, we meet Opal. Opal's neat. I like her. She's kind of like that wise type character. I like, and Opal seems like a very sweet character too. I really like, her because she gives her a vision that really, like, it wasn't needed because Snowfall didn't need any more empathy help at all. Like, she understands the empathy thing, hands down. She's a lot less paranoid. In fact, I would say probably not at all at this point paranoid. But she's still insecure. And while that's probably not Opal's job to fix insecurity, she does it anyway by giving her a vision of Glacier, and that was just so sweet. It's very sweet. I really like that. And, yeah. And, of course, the epilogue is super creepy, but, like, that finishes up the book. As a whole, I love the book. I just think there are aspects that are a tad bit rushed. That's probably my biggest problem, is that some parts of it feel rushed or they don't leave as much of an impact as they should. That's my only problems with the book. Otherwise, Snowfall's great. The supporting characters are wonderful. It's awesome. I love the book. I love that there's no romance in it, thank goodness. no romantic tension, at least. Like, there's no crushes or no, like, I love that character. Like, I'm so glad that's not in here. It wasn't needed. I was really worried she was going to be, like, engaged to Hailstorm or something. So, like, I was actually really, really genuinely concerned about that. I was like, oh, great. She's going to be, like, engaged to Hailstorm, isn't she? And I was like, ugh. And I was so glad that didn't happen. So, yay. Love that. And then we have the epilogue that's super creepy. And we find out that apparently there's, like, an underground society of scavengers, which we knew. But apparently there's an abyss or something, and it's glowing green, and there's this creepy guy named Vol who, like, watches it. Like, we know nothing about this pit of, like, discomfort and horrible, unspeakable horrors or something, but it's going to be super interesting to find out what it is, and it says it needs the dragon, so I'm not sure what the dragon is. I'm not sure what to even think about the abyss itself. I'm not sure if it's the plant antidote down there. Is it like some kind of dragon-eating plant that when it eats the dragon or something, it produces the antidote? I don't know. Is there a dragon down there? I don't know. And which is the dragon? Like, Jerboa seems to be hinted at throughout this book to be, like, she's still trying to find her purpose. Or whatever. So, maybe it's Jerboa? I don't know, but Jerboa's not headed to the continent, so unless she just follows along, I hope it's not Sky, unless Sky can live. Oh, by the way, that's the other protagonist. I have no idea who the protagonist for the next book is. Usually I have some, like, good idea, except, of course, for the last 2 books in this arc. I have no idea. It could just be a wild card one. I have no idea who it'll be, but I'm really hoping it's Sky. Just because I think he's the one that's best set up to be the main protagonist, or I'd take, like, most anyone. I don't think it'll be Umber. I really hope it's not another Pentalon dragon. I kind of hope it's a Pyrian dragon that's heading over there, which I think is Sky. I hope it is, especially if the scavengers become more involved, because Sky can understand them. So we don't need, like, a roundabout way of knowing what they're saying and whatnot. So, yeah. So that's my thoughts. I kind of, like, with the ending, it's probably going to be something where we're like, oh, yeah, like, that makes sense. Or as I have more time to chew on this, I might have more thoughts and ideas. But for the time being, I'm not sure what to think. And I just hope Sky is the next protagonist of the book. It would also be cute to have him on the cover. Like, he played such a major role in Dragon Slayer. It'd be nice to have a book from his perspective. He's a very innocent, sweet character, and I love Snowfall a lot, but, we've had, like, 2 grumpy characters in a row, and, we've had a peppy character, and we've had an insecure character. It would be, like, nice to have a sweetly innocent peppy character, because Cricket's still aware, even though she's, like, peppy, and I don't know that Sky's a very sweetheart, but I don't know how intelligent he is, per se. So it'd be kind of interesting to have that again, because we haven't had that kind of personality type in a long time, but I love Sky. I think he's very sweet. Plus, he's got some, limitations, like he doesn't have fire, so it'd be kind of neat to have some of that in there. But anyway, that wraps up my thoughts. It was a great book. I recommend it highly. It was wonderful. I think this is a book that, in and of itself, is a very complete book. It doesn't need to, other than the epilogue, it doesn't feel like it needs to, like it has a lot of, good character development. It kind of reminds me of Tsunami's book a little bit, that it's just, in and of itself, the characters develop well on their own, and it's got good support. So I really, really liked it. But yeah, that wraps up my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this talk. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out my art on DeviantArt. I've got more stuff in there other than this piece. I've done designs of some of these characters before, and I'd like to have some out soon of Mink and stuff, my own interpretation of some of these characters. But have a great time, guys, and I'll be back later with another video. Bye!